The brand new SwitchBot 2, a hub for your SwitchBot devices, a temperature and humidity sensor, IR blaster, and some scene buttons. And best of all, this works with Matter. I've been using SwitchBot for a while. They have some interesting and unique smart home products like the bot that automates standard devices just by pressing a button. And they have an IR blaster to automate controlling infrared remote control devices. They have a blind tilt and curtain roller so you can make your existing window coverings smart. And even some more traditional products like light bulbs and LED strips, cameras, and door locks, just to name a few. The issue has been, well, they haven't worked with HomeKit, which is generally a must for me. They do support Siri shortcuts, which is nice, but definitely not as good as working right in Apple Home. Some of their devices can be brought into HomeKit via HomeBridge or Hoobs in my case, but these are definitely workarounds and not ideal. Luckily, SwitchBot is starting to focus on Apple Home and, well, Matter. Just last year, SwitchBot released a Wi-Fi smart plug that includes energy monitoring and works right in Apple Home. And available now is the brand new Hub 2, which supports Matter, meaning it also works in Apple Home. So what can this Matter Hub do? What can't it do? And is this something worth making a part of your Apple smart home? Here's the SwitchBot Hub 2. It's plastic and lightweight, but looks nice. There's a kickstand so it can be placed on a desk or a table. They include a USB-A power brick, something which many companies have stopped doing. There's a 3M adhesive if you want to place it on a wall, though keep in mind this isn't battery operated, so there will be a cord hanging down. The cord is a flat USB-A to USB-C cable, and lastly is the user manual. For comparison, here's the original SwitchBot Mini. The original looks like a standard hub, while the Hub 2 looks like a temperature and humidity sensor, and it is. Visually it looks great, but what does the Hub do and why do you need it? SwitchBot devices can work without the Hub, though having the Hub will allow you to control your SwitchBot devices remotely, set up scenes in the SwitchBot app, and use third-party services like Google, Alexa, and Siri shortcuts. There are some exceptions to this, like their HomeKit Smart Plug, which you can use right in HomeKit, but in general, you probably want the Hub if you're investing in the SwitchBot ecosystem. I love when hubs don't look like hubs. Aqara is a great example of this with their camera hubs. In this case, it's a temperature and humidity LCD display. Right away, I have to say that I love the design. The white on white looks really nice in my opinion, and the large numbers really stand out and make it easy to read just at a glance. I've been keeping this in my studio and it fits in nicely on my desk. Since the device generates a small amount of heat just from operating, the actual sensor is located in the cord for supposedly more accurate reading. It's an interesting idea and makes sense to me. Within the app, you can turn off the temperature and humidity reading or the scene buttons along the bottom. This also has a built-in light sensor, so not only can you monitor your light level in the SwitchBot app, but there's also an option for auto brightness. This could be useful if you want it in a bedroom since it'll automatically dim the display. I mentioned the scene buttons. There are two buttons along the bottom of the display that by default turn the display on or off, but they can be used to activate scenes that you've set up in the SwitchBot app. Unfortunately, these buttons are not exposed to HomeKit. I was really hoping that they would. I think that would be really cool. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I will get to what functions are available in HomeKit soon. The IR function isn't new to the Hub 2, the Hub Mini included an IR blaster as well, though SwitchBot says the Hub 2 has twice the range. To be clear, this is for infrared remote control devices, not Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Generally speaking, you want line of sight when you're controlling an IR device, which is why they usually work better when pointing the remote towards the device you're trying to control. I don't have a lot of IR devices, but I do have this LED candle in my basement. It's around the corner from my studio where I have the Hub 2, and I was surprised that it worked without direct line of sight. The Hub was able to learn all of the controls including the power, brightness buttons, and flicker button. The candle has a timer function that can turn on for 4 hours every day, but since I only want it on for a couple of hours, a couple of days a week, I can now create a schedule in the SwitchBot app and save the battery power on this candle. This is just a small example of what's possible. I've also used one of the scene buttons on the Hub to power the candle on, so now I have a physical control right in my studio. And let's not forget about Siri shortcuts. Use Siri to control your IR devices. Siri, turn on my basement candle. Matter's rolling out slowly and it hasn't been perfect, but it will get better over time. If you haven't downloaded iOS 16.4, then you'll want to do that before adding the Hub 2 and upgrade the Home app to the Matter infrastructure. Then you'll be able to add the SwitchBot Hub into HomeKit. though to start, you need to first add the hub to the SwitchBot app. From the app, you can see current temperature to 1 decimal point, which is nice because the display only shows whole numbers. You also get the humidity and light level, and you can click on any of the tiles to view historical data and even export to a CSV. You can see and add IR devices and assign scenes to the touch buttons on the front. Within the settings, there's options like auto brightness and some other screen options. There's a desired conditions page where you can set up alerts at certain thresholds. To get this into Apple Home though, you'll first want to click the section for Matter configuration, which will give you the code, so either save the picture and send it to another device, or you can just copy the code and add it manually into HomeKit. Before you add it, you do need to reset the Hub2 first by pressing and holding both of those scene buttons for 15 seconds. I did have some huge issues adding this into HomeKit. Now this had nothing to do with SwitchBot, this was an issue with my home, and I don't know what the problem is. It's working right now, but it started with a SwitchBot Hub2. I got a replacement device, it still didn't work. I started to get other Matter accessories from companies like Eve, Govee, Onvis. Those ones weren't working as well, so I quickly realized this isn't a SwitchBot error, this is an issue with my Apple Home setup. I spent hours on the phone with Apple support submitting logs for their engineering team, and really there was no resolution. I got to the point where I just knew I had to get this fixed. I took what I felt was a dramatic step for me and I deleted my home and I recreated it. It was a very long process that I'm still working on today and probably will be for several more weeks, adding all my accessories back, creating my scenes, setting up new automations. It is a little frustrating not knowing what the problem was, and if I ever find out, then I will share it with you in case anyone else out there is having the same issue as I am. But it's working now. I've got all of my Matter accessories into Apple Home and it's amazing. Once it's in Apple Home, you'll now be able to see the temperature and humidity data right in the Home app, or use Siri to find the temperature in your room. You can also create temperature and humidity automations, like turning on a fan when humidity is high, turning on a humidifier when humidity is low, or using a smart plug to turn on a heater when it's cold. Unfortunately not the light level though. By having the light sensor exposed, you could use it to open blinds or turn on lights, so hopefully that feature's added down the road. Speaking of smart blinds though, maybe some good news for you. The popular SwitchBot curtain and blind tilt are Matter compatible, which means they will be available in Apple Home. SwitchBot Curtain is a wireless motorized device that fits a variety of curtain rods to open and close your curtains. There's also a solar panel, which means no manual charging. The blind tilt is another retrofit solution for existing tilt blinds. It can be an easy and much less expensive option for making what you already have smart without having to buy brand new smart blinds. Until recently, these options didn't work in Apple Home, at least not natively, so Matter coming to these devices is nice to see. I would have loved to have tested these products out for you. I've heard great things, but I don't own tilt blinds or curtains, so I wouldn't be able to give you a great demonstration. Not to worry though, there's a lot of great reviews out there, and I'll link a few in the comments if you're looking to learn more. Unfortunately, as of now, other devices like the bot, button, motion sensor, and door and window sensor are not Matter compatible, so won't be available in Apple Home. SwitchBot says they're working on adding more devices though, so I'll be watching for updates. With the release of the Hub2, SwitchBot is on the right track, though it's still not ideal for HomeKit users like myself. I actually really like the Hub2, even if it didn't provide additional smart functionality. I could see this being a nice device to show you your room conditions at a glance. Though I just have to mention here, an air quality sensor seems like it would have been a nice addition, both for monitoring your air quality and using it to automate devices like fans or air purifiers. The fact that SwitchBot Curtain and Blind Tilt can now work in Apple Home with your existing scenes and automations is a pretty big deal. If I did have curtains or tilt blinds, I would absolutely be looking for ways to get those into Apple Home. Though I still want more. And while I think more will come soon, there's no guarantee what or when more SwitchBot devices will be Matter compatible. I also really wish those buttons could be programmed in Apple Home. To have a couple of HomeKit buttons right on this device would definitely be handy. I love that we're finally at the point now where Matter is actually here and I can test and review a Matter compatible product. It's great to see SwitchBot take the leap into Matter so we can finally use at least some of their devices without having to rely on Homebridge plugins that can be a lot of extra work, not to mention confusing and less reliable. The SwitchBot Hub2 sells on Amazon.com for $70 US, though does ship to Canada. You can also buy directly on the SwitchBot website for the same price, or $90 Canadian. Let me know your thoughts on the SwitchBot Hub2 and what are your thoughts on Matter so far. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.